Let's go!
Maybe they changed up their front structure a little bit just to try to keep me contained and, make me throw the ball.
Marcel Reed says the quiet part out loud. We start off with a really good switch release combo right here. Obviously, you have a vertical that is trying to hold this corner and this safety, and then you have, obviously, the vertical being run behind it. So Marcel Reed, this is a somewhat easy read. He sees that this corner sticks with this vertical, so you should throw this sideline ball, and you've got to get it in there. Could this have been released a half second sooner? No, honestly, I think that's fine. You QB experts out there, feel free to correct me on that. He throws it right on the dot for a nice explosive play early in this game. So now let's go to the 2nd and 11. And this right here is a bit concerning if I'm a Texas A&M fan. So I don't know how hurt Reed was going into this game, but I think he was healthy, and it's early in the game as well. So these players are fresh, and they have the perfect play call for Marcel Reed's skill set. They're running a fake screen here to the right. Look, it draws this safety over here to the right and all three of these DBs, and it's a 5-man rush into a QB draw, right? So normally it's just 4-man rushes. That's one extra man that's not in the QB draw fit, if you will. So now you have Reed against a safety in the open field, and the safety brings him down pretty cleanly, all right? A runner of Reed's caliber, you would like to see him at least make him miss, because if you make him miss and you're able to get through here, you're getting at least 10, 15 extra yards and maybe a score. So, yeah, I mean, that was a big tackle in this game. Texas A&M gets stuffed on a 4th and 1, and we get to their second possession. This is midway through the first quarter. Score is still tied. It's 2nd and 6. And, well, this is the good and bad of Marcel Reed. 2 hands on the football trying to read this out, and Broughton, 45, is getting a lot of rush right up the gut. But take a look at this. 2 hands on the ball. Really good fundamentals here. Now, once you get 2 hands on the ball, you still have a good pocket to work with, all right? So reset your feet, bang, this is an easy throw in the soft spot of the zone. But watch what happens. Reed's first tendency is to roll out to the right when things get a little murky. That's what he does every single time, okay? But if you sit in this pocket, you don't want to work that. You can work this. He decides to roll out to the right, even though he does not have a leverage advantage right here versus his defender. So basically, you're running into the contain, all right? Then he gets very lucky here. So the receiver who's open, he eventually works to this receiver, but watch, he fakes like he's throwing it here, then he's late throwing it here, and he's trying to throw it here, but it was actually the sideline receiver who came in to make this grab. And you'll see this bleed over into the next play. We don't have the all-22 here, but it looks as if Texas A&M is trying to run one of these kind of tight end wheels, okay? So you have a vertical here, and the play is actually designed to go to the tight end, okay? So the vertical carries, the safety, and then you're trying to hit this guy. The problem is there's a lot of pressure off the edge because Texas has thoroughbreds as pass rushers. But look, he hula hoops him up here, and you have a really good pocket to work with. The one thing we don't want to do with all the routes going to the left side is roll out to the right. But Reed feels like he has to. And once again, he panics, okay? You sit in this pocket right here, bang, all right? But if you don't want to sit because he felt that pressure, just go ahead and roll out to the right side. There's no routes, though. You saw all of them basically go to the left. So now, instead of just throwing this away, he chunks his football into double coverage, and his receiver trips, and Taft, who made that nice open field tackle. This is what makes Marcel Reed very fun, okay? So the strong side of the formation is clearly here into the boundary, but instead, you're play actioning and split zoning here to the field, all right? So you could throw this if you want to. You have a lead blocker, if you will, on this, and guess what? You don't want to throw it? Let's just run you up into this space right here. Okay, once again, their safeties do a really good job filling the alley. And this is also something that's very interesting with Texas. They decide to read the backside 3-tech. So normally on these kind of zone read plays, it's the backside end who's left unblocked. But this time they trust Reed to read the defensive tackle. He sees that the DT sits right there, hands it off. You're getting a pretty good double right here. And, man, that's just better run fitting there defensively. You're running the football well. They bring the nickel into the box right here. Guess what? You pull it. You play pitch and catch football right there. Okay? That is what Marcel Reed can bring your team. Okay? Really good mechanically right there to get that football out quick too. This was one of my favorite Reed plays in this game. So I hate this design. You're pulling both the guard and the center. So you're trusting the left tackle to come all the way down and block arguably Texas's best player on their team, 45. I think I called him Broughton earlier. That's Collins. And part of playing quarterback is avoiding the disaster plays, okay? And guess what? He avoids the disaster sack and doesn't just throw it up into coverage. And ironically, you can make a case that this should have just been grounding, but you don't call it, but you avoid the disaster. The very next play, all right, Collins blew up the first play. Guess what? He does it again. And this time A&M puts their best offensive lineman, Zune, on Collins, and watch what he does to him. Okay, just a nasty swim, Zune into the ground, and now Reed needs to read this. This ball still could have been delivered in the flats to avoid a disaster sack. Instead, he doesn't rip it, and guess what? He just has to eat it at this point. So I'd have liked to have seen him rip that, but still, it's a 7-yard loss, and basically they eventually do punt. A&M now down 14-0, and this is a sign you're just playing a better football team, all right? So what you don't want to do versus a mobile quarterback like Marcel Reed is leave the middle of the field wide open, because a good mobile quarterback like Reed is just going to run it up the gut. But if you do that, all right, if you're going to leave the middle of the field this wide open, you have to trust your pass rush to stay in their pass rush lanes. And Reed sees that the middle of the field is open. He should try and tuck and run this. And, well, guess what happened? Everyone loses their blocks. Everyone stays in their pass rush lane. And it's a sack. Okay, there's not a whole lot Reed can do there. I think he made the right decision. 3rd and 7. And Texas decides to get a little sexy here. All right, so they have their superstar pass rusher, Simmons, who plays a QB spy here. LSU did this in the early stages with Harold Perkins. Simmons, very similar, true freshman pass rushing sensation, okay? So this is what they decide to do. They practically play the same thing, all right? It's man coverage, 2-man underneath, all right? But this time, the QB spy is Simmons, all right? Last time there wasn't a QB spy. This time there is. Now, if you're Reed and you see that this is a QB spy, you have to know that you're going to have a good pocket, and you honestly have really good man beaters here in coverage, right? The best man beater, in my opinion, is a deep over route, and that's exactly what you have here with 9, Walker, okay? So guess what? You sit in this pocket, bam, you have Walker for a huge gain. Or instead of just every time when you feel just a little bit uncomfortable, just sprinting out to the right side, you just sit in this pocket, fake like you're running here, and then boom, okay? You have a wide open rush lane to run through, all right? You know, the thing that a lot of young quarterbacks, and Taylon Green of Arkansas goes through this as well, is that they always have a tendency to just drift right when things are getting weird. All right, so now A&M is up by 3 possessions, 90 seconds left to go, no timeouts. All right, this is some really, really, really good quarterbacking right here from Texas A&M's Marcel Reed. Okay, so you have Ohio basically vertical and an out behind it. You just got to see if this corner runs with the vertical. He does. Reed throws that football pretty early and is able to pick up this first down right here. Really good stuff by one to cut up field and get out of bounds, and it's just good quarterbacking there. 3rd and 2, and man, it just seemed, in particular in this first half, Reed had tunnel vision to the right side. I understand you have no timeouts left, but holy crap, they missed a big one here. They're running a variation of mesh, and when you see a bunch of man coverage being run, which in this case is the case, all right, mesh is a really good concept, especially if the play is elongated, and that's exactly what happens. You know, everyone's just staying in their pass rush lanes, and yes, Reed works to the sideline, which is fine. He does complete this to stop the clock, but Noah Thomas on this drag is a huge, huge gainer, all right? Instead, it's just a ball thrown into the flat, and it's nothing. Okay, so we then get to a 4th down and 3 situation. I like the fact that they went for it. You're down by 17. You don't punt here. And once again, Texas, a very conservative rush, and this time I am going to call out the receivers, okay? I know the screen gets small here. This is kind of some lousy effort, all right? It doesn't look like they're really running here, but here's what happens if you just keep drifting and back heeling into pockets. You see, when something actually opens itself up, which is right here for a first down, see, you're on your heels, all right? You're not trusting your pocket at all. So he steps up here, and once again, you're not running for this. You know what? I'd like to have seen this receiver. I think this is Uno right here. He's just stopped, okay? Run into this window. Go help your QB out. He's looking in this direction, and obviously he can't run there, and he basically just runs into a 4th and short. We have reached the 3rd quarter, and we want to shout out our partners today at Fast Draft Fantasy. Sign up now, promo code Carter for a deposit match bonus up to $50. You can win big with their Origins draft. Best ball fantasy football is what it's all about, baby. Fast draft, okay? So finally, Texas gets out of their pass rush lane responsibility, and they're stacked up, all right? You get a double right here. Doesn't throw anything over here. Nothing is indeed open. And this time, instead of rolling out to the right side, he finds a pass rush lane that's deoccupied, and now this is where Marcel Reed cooks, okay? Really, really, really good stuff right here to get this 3rd quarter going. And obviously, this is who Marcel Reed is a quarterback, right? He is a run-first QB who is a good runner. I wouldn't say he's an elite runner, but man, this is a really good run. Now, in Reed's defense, he did not have a whole lot of help from his offensive line. I mean, this was one of the best defensive line performances I can remember in a big game from an SEC team. I mean, this is just ridiculous stuff. There's so much pressure. You can argue that all of this right here could have been sped up for Reed, but it gets batted up into the air and almost picked off. And it was batted up because there was just so much pressure up the middle, and Sorrells drops a pick.
I feel like a lot of defense stayed the same. You know, maybe they changed up their front structure a little bit just to try to keep me contained and, you know, make me throw the ball. But I don't think too many people did anything crazy besides South Carolina when we played them. So, I mean, I just got to adjust to what I see and, you know, be a better player.
While it is only 3rd and 8, it might as well be 3rd and Brenham. I mean, there's just nothing open, and everybody defensively is just doing their job, okay? So instead of this being 2-man under, this turns into single high. So this is cover 1 with a QB spy attached to it, okay? And they are just trusting their guys to just lock down yours. And look at this. There's just nowhere to go. There's pressure. He's stepping up with 2 hands on the football, but there's a QB spy just waiting right there. This honestly is a good move right here by Marcel Reed. Just to hit your check down, make one guy miss, it's off to the races, and 5 drops it. Now the score is 17-7. You get a pick 6, but Marcel Reed talked about this in the post game. There were long stretches where the offense was off the field, and right here, you get a little RPO action, but the safety is sitting right in the window. All right, and this is a problem when you're not trusting the run game. You start making bad reads. Now, this could have been told to Reed before the game, hey, we want to throw this all the way no matter what. But you'll see that Zune, who is a good offensive lineman, just got his ass kicked all game. You see he's getting two-gapped. There's really nowhere, even if you would have handed this football off, there would have been nowhere to run unless this gets bounced. But this should have been a handoff right here. You don't want to throw this football into this heavy traffic. And guess what? It almost gets picked off. Let's go to this 3rd and 5, early fourth quarter, you're down by 10. I like this decision right here from Marcel Reed, okay? You have your running back who is at a leverage disadvantage versus this defender, but you trust him on the angle, a.k.a. Texas route, to get open. Now, once again, it's a deep drop. Could you make a case you could step up here and hit this dig? Sure, right? But he throws a dot right here. That's a really good catch. We'll give you the end zone angle here. Once again, it's 45, Collins. That is holding, okay? I'm sorry. That's just got to be called. It just has to. That's not here nor there. He's not the focus of this film study. Fake the throw into the flat. Remember, they tried one of these or a variation of this earlier. Fake the throw in the flat, have the vertical, and then the tight end up the sideline. And remember, to start the game, they did something somewhat similar on the switch vertical release. This time, the corner does a good job of peeling off of it a little bit earlier, okay? And he sees that Reed has his football let go. So this guy isn't open, all right? So Reed has to back shoulder this, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but he throws it right on the money, and it's a first down. It's really good stuff. 3rd and Emerald Forest, and I'm actually not going to put any blame on anybody from Texas A&M's offense. This is just an absolutely positively terrible play call on 3rd and 13. Could this have been caught? Yes. Could this have been thrown differently? Absolutely. But this is a bad call because on 3rd and 13, Texas's defenders, their heels are going to be on the sticks. So the last thing you want to do is just run all stops right at the sticks, okay? Because they're just sitting there waiting on you. So this ends up being a really good throw. I would have liked for an option here of an underneath receiver just so you could punish them for just having their heels on the sticks. Instead, Reed throws an absolute dot right here on time, but that is just going to be a medicine ball every time if the safeties are just sitting right there. So I hate that route distribution there. Should that still be caught? Yes, but that's a very difficult catch. Texas A&M punted the football on 4th and 13. That's why I really hated that decision. Run something short, you might get in field goal range, you might be able to go for it. And then they block a punt from Texas, and they get this very lucky field position. So some not so great coaching. I think you should just go for it on 4th and 13, but that's not here nor there. And we get to this 1st and 10. Now, this is really, really good quarterbacking right here from Marcel Reed, okay? I understand 7 is a really good player, but this is your best receiver, Noah Thomas. Work the one-on-one matchup. Now, once again, this could have been released now, okay? But Reed waits for it to get wide open, throws a really good ball away from the DB. We'll take it. Almost a first down. So we'll get to the 2nd and 12. Zune, the really good left tackle, had a bad holding call. I didn't agree with it, but he still got ragdolled on the play. And guess what? You call the perfect screen right here, okay? And you almost score it. This is a good job by the offensive lineman getting out into the blocks. And it's good having a versatile tight end, 84, whose name slips my mind right now. Not a great blocker, but a good receiver, and he picks up a first. Then you get to this 3rd and goal. Bad offensive philosophy, right? They're just teeing off, knocking your guys back. There's no way you're getting through that. After this stuff, before you can go for it on fourth down, they have to burn a timeout. So there's this huge pile that's going to burn even more seconds off the clock, and it's just bad management. After this play, you just need to line up and go for it on fourth. Fourth and goal, and this might be the worst play call I've ever seen. You bring in an extra offensive lineman. I mean, Cam Dewberry is a really good number 6 offensive lineman, but still, you're giving away that this is going to be a run, right? And that's exactly what they do. They try to run a little trap play. 82, who's cold off the bench, and 91, Burke just destroys this in the backfield. They just did not trust Reed throwing at all.
What have you saw from defenses, how they started to play you as the season went on?
I feel like a lot of defense stayed the same. Maybe they changed up their front structure a little bit just to try to keep me contained and, make me throw the ball. I don't think too many people did anything crazy besides South Carolina when we played them. So, I just got to adjust to what I see and, be a better player.
Now, did you hear what Marcel Reed just said?
Keep me contained and, make me throw the ball.
That's basically him implying that the defenses forcing him to throw was something that made him uncomfortable. And how that LSU game played out is a good example of it. LSU just let him run all over him. And honestly, he played mostly great towards the end of the season. He didn't just have some unbelievable game, but this Texas game was his only quote-unquote bad game of the Final Four. It's just from the pocket and just his overall pocket comfortability. Yes, he is a young quarterback. Those things do take time. It was rough, and that aspect of his game does need to get better. Man, overall, QBRs were good. Turnovers, not so great. Some bad sacks, including this strip sack here at the end. And just some overall shaky play. But that, honestly, is pretty common for any year 2 starter. Another thing that's very interesting is that he is indeed so young, right? Only entering year 3 of his development. And I've listened to a few other interviews he's done. He does have this Jaden Daniels quality of being very self-introspective, like saying the things that he needs to do to become a better quarterback. And obviously, you're hoping for that Jaden Daniels type of development. He's not that level of a runner, but he's a very good runner. And as a thrower, arm is fine, but he's got plenty of arm to be a successful starting college QB. So overall, I am bullish on Marcel Reed in his future as a quarterback with all this experience, obviously leading what should have been a game-winning drive here versus USC. But, man, he is a fun player to watch. I would say as far as his ranking in the SEC, I would put him in that middle range, right? Not top 5, but definitely not bottom 5, if that makes sense. But definitely has room to move up with a good work ethic and obviously some good upside mixed in there as well. But, man, if there was one thing I would say, sit in that pocket, step up into that pocket, make those throws. And I do think with experience and age, the game slows down, and it will slow down for him some this year. It is also important to note that Elko and Klein have to be better, right? I wasn't the biggest fan of this offensive structure, but it also makes sense because you were still trying to figure out your quarterback, and obviously Zune made the big block right there to spring him. He played terrible versus Texas, as did that entire offensive line. So everybody's got to be better next year. Let me know what you think down below. It is Power Hour SEC. Boom. Now, bang and bang. 2 controversial quarterback breakdowns we've just done. I might throw a third in there as well, so make sure you check it out. And tonight we are doing chicken tortellini, baby. Let's go.